Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining us today. We're going to grab our magnifying glasses and do something actually pretty fascinating. We are decoding the mid-year financial update for the city of Big Lake. If you've ever found yourself wanting just a clear, no-nonsense look at how a city actually manages its money behind the scenes, well, you are in the exact right place. Okay, let's dive straight into this. Think about your own household budget for just a second, right? You know your monthly rent or mortgage, your grocery bills, your utility costs. But have you ever stopped to wonder what your local government actually costs to operate on a daily basis? It's a massive, massive operation. And honestly, the numbers are pretty eye-opening. Since we're looking at data right at the end of June 2026, we're sitting exactly at the 50% mark of the year. And this gives us literally the perfect opportunity to check the city's vital signs. We're going to open up the municipal checking account, follow the money, and see if the city's budget is staying balanced halfway through the race. But, before we get completely lost in the spreadsheets, let's just ground ourselves in what this is really all about. Live big. Every single dollar we're looking at today isn't just some random number on a page. It's money meant to support the residents, the local businesses, and the entire community of Big Lake. Ultimately, these finances are the engine keeping this community thriving. So let's start with the big macro picture here, over $25 million. Specifically, $25,375,323.38. That is the massive total cash balance the city is holding onto at our mid-year check-in. It sounds like a total mountain of money, doesn't it? But as we'll see in a moment, it's not all just sitting in one giant piggy bank waiting to be spent on whatever. So how exactly is that $25 million divided up? Well, nearly half of this cash, 47% of it to be exact, sits in what are called enterprise funds. These are things like water and sewer, which actually act almost like independent businesses. Meanwhile, the general fund, which is essentially the city's main day-to-day operating engine, holds 17% of that total cash. All right, now that we've looked at the big macro savings account, it's time to shift gears into that daily operational engine. Where does the money come from? How does the city actually fill its general fund to pay for the services you and I rely on every single day? This right here is a really vital benchmark to track. Exactly 50% of the year has passed, but the city has only collected about 38% of its nearly $7.8 million revenue budget for the year. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, uh-oh, are they falling behind? But remember, municipal revenues don't always flow in perfectly evenly every single month. Let's look at what's actually driving this income. So here are the major financial pillars feeding Big Lake. By far, the absolute heaviest hitter for the general fund is property taxes, which brought in nearly $1.9 million by mid-year. Things like licenses and permits, along with charges for services, make up a much smaller fraction of the revenue stream. It's really those property taxes that serve as the true foundation of the city's daily operations. Okay, let's flip things over and see how this builds out on the other side of the ledger. We know how the city fills the bucket, but how fast is the water draining out? Where is the money going? It's time to figure out exactly how the city is spending all those collected revenues. What does the budgetary pie of Big Lake's expenditures actually look like? Well, different services, everything from general government to public safety to public works, each take up their own distinct slices. And this really highlights the core priorities of the city's daily management. So the really crucial point here is how these individual departments are tracking against our 50% mid-year mark. Administration and finance, they're running a bit hot, sitting at 59% of their budget used. However, major operational departments like public safety, which includes the police, are at 44% and streets are at 43%. So both of those are well under the halfway mark. When you blend it all together, the overall general fund spending lands at exactly 51%. And honestly, against a 50% time passed benchmark, this is great news. It shows a highly controlled, really healthy, and closely aligned municipal budget. Basically, Big Lake is right on track. All right, we've talked in millions of dollars, we've done percentages, and looked at macro-level municipal accounting. But let's personalize this for a second. Let's bring all this multi-million-dollar data right down to your pocketbook. What is the actual bottom line impact on the individual citizen? $2.59. Through the end of June, $2.59 is the literal daily cost to provide city services for each household and business in Big Lake. I mean, think about that. For less than the price of a standard cup of coffee, that is funding everything from the police patrolling your neighborhood to the parks you play in, all the way to the maintenance of the streets you drive on every day.
But a thriving city isn't just about keeping the current lights on, right? It's about looking forward. So I want to quickly shift our spotlight to the Economic Development Authority, or EDA. This is a specialized fund where the city actively invests in future growth, local businesses, and the overall brand of the community.
And the EDA isn't just theory, it's very active practice. Just as an example, they generated $12,000 simply from a pizza factory lease. They're also actively spending $10,000 on a branding project and making real investments in the local industrial park. These kinds of specific line items prove that the city is taking a really hands-on role in shaping Big Lake's commercial future. So we've followed the money. We've seen the millions in cash, the property tax engine, and the strategic investments. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to that daily cup of coffee cost. So I'll leave you with this. What city services do you value most for your $2.59 a day? Think about it the next time you drive down a paved street or visit a local park. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and definitely keep asking great questions about your community.